Brother, we got somebody on the line want to talk to you, one of our favorite listeners. Brother Cliff is on WVON 1690. Go ahead, Brother Cliff. You're on Straight Words.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. I'll try to be brief. Now, listen to all the comments. You know, this is a situation that we're facing that is really disturbing and it's hurtful. And we're not only talking about the white man and its destruction towards black people, our women, but as you pointed out, we're doing it to ourselves. And I want to quote the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if I may. He said, if you come for me, I got an army that you see and an army that you don't see. I don't believe he was just talking about if the white man or if the government came for him or the people of the Nation of Islam. I believe he was also mentioning if anybody in the race, in our own culture, came for him, they would be destroyed. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that, I'm saying correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm saying is that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Clip. I'll say this. Whenever you have a man that's a divine man enjoying the protection of Almighty God Allah, then any who comes against that man stands to be destroyed. Because the man doesn't operate from a carnal base. He doesn't operate from carnal weapons. He operates from a high spiritual level, but that high spiritual level reflects the reality, and it reflects consequences inflicted by God himself. So I think the minister has been long-suffering with our people. And if you're going to be a redeemer, if you're going to be a savior, you have to be long-suffering with a people that hate themselves. As the minister said, we've got to love our people more than they hate themselves. And I think that is what endears the Nation of Islam to our people, that we're not bullies. We're not abusers. We don't throw our weight around. You know, we're known for being brave fighters and being willing to protect ourselves, but ultimately we show up as defenders and protectors of our people and as peacemakers.
Brother Naba'a, I'm just going to say this and I'll close. The reason why I'm saying this is because of the fact that if our brothers are disrespecting and even to the point taking the lives of our sisters, what I'm saying that people in the community, you know, the ones that are not really into the Nation of Islam, what I'm saying from a political standpoint, if all this is happening under the Democratic leadership in our country, whether it be Philadelphia, Chicago, St. Louis, New York, and this is all under Democratic leadership, what I'm hearing, and the sister said this to me, they're willing to vote for Trump if Trump is going to give that false narrative that he's going to be tougher on crime. They'll rather, man, vote for Trump if Trump is going to lock up these so-called Negroes, man, that are destructive in our community. And that's the message of which Trump is saying, is that he wants to add more police officers. He wants to clean up the black community. And people are going to fall for that and vote for him. And that's what's going to happen, brother. So I could be saying this wrong, but this is what I'm hearing coming from the black community, that Biden and the Democrats are not helping to solve the conditions of our people as it relates to us killing each other. But if Trump wants to put those bad people in jail or lock them up, that they're willing to vote for him in order to make a difference in our community. I'm just sharing with you what they're saying. So I'd like to hear your response. What should we do? Thanks for taking my call. I'll hang up and see your response.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Cliff, for raising that, because it leads us right into our next conversation with Sister Vicki Dillard. Let's bring Vicki in, and maybe we can kick Cliff's question around a bit as we talk about Biden, black men, Morehouse, the Bronx, and the black electorate in 2024. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Vicki, you there?
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, sir. I'm so pleased to be with you all today.
Sister, we are really pleased. We're really pleased to have you. I don't know. Did you hear Cliff's question?
You know, I did. hear his question about what we're meant to do, and he's been hearing conversation about folks willing to vote for Trump if he's going to lock up the bad people. And it sounds like obviously that he's concerned about the election of Trump versus Joe Biden in office. And I think that it's very problematic for our people to expect a savior on any side, but it is equally dangerous, specific to the question that I just heard about our brother being more worried about Donald Trump coming back into the White House versus Joe Biden. You know, that lets me know that the real devil is at work when our perception is so off that we talk about the fear of Donald Trump, and he is certainly a devil. But the devil that smiles in our face, the friendly devil, the one that eats our catfish with us and fried chicken and would come in our choir and our churches and sing Amazing Grace, we don't fear that enemy. Joe Biden, who is responsible for the devastating crime bill of 1994, and prior to that he supported many other anti-black forms of legislation. The 94 crime bill, we know we can trace to the undoing of our people for at least 2 generations. Joe Biden, who recently said, not just 20, 30, and 40 plus years ago, he recently said, 2 months before he took the oath of office, after he secured the presidency and was waiting, that following January, he met under pressure, under duress really, with the likes of Reverend Al Sharpton and the Urban League and the NAACP folks via Zoom, with Kamala Harris on the phone under pressure, because right after they helped to get him elected, they ignored them. And so the black shields, the black sellout was so humiliated that Biden and the Harris to-be administration ignored them. They start to publicly call them out in mainstream media and cable. So he was forced to meet with them via Zoom. And in that conversation, Joe Biden said that America is doomed, not just because of black people, which means in that context he was saying America is doomed in part because of black folk. Mm-hmm. He said, but not only that, he said, but because white folks, the Europeans in America, are going to be the minority come 2040. So those are 2 things that he said the reason America is doomed is because of you, black family, and because white folks are getting ready to be the minority come 2040. And then he screamed, he cussed in his address to them, and then he said, and you guys are going to have to work with the Hispanics. Joe Biden, who said on the Breakfast Club to Charlamagne the God, leading up to this his election, he said, you ain't even black if you are sitting there quivering about who you're going to vote for. Joe Biden, who is not only responsible for the black genocide here in the United States, but he is overseeing the genocide and the slaughter of the Palestinian people on our watch. The hell are our people worried about? What are you talking about? You're worried about what's to come. Look at where you are now. It is something wrong with our perception. I am not justifying Donald Trump. I will not be voting for Donald Trump. I am not endorsing Donald Trump. But I am saying they're both equally devils. And how is it that you can't see this one that's right before your face, that is right now in real time responsible for your undoing and a lot of the undoing of the darker peoples of the planet? That's what I would say to our brother, something for him to keep in mind, because we're not seeing right. We're not seeing right because who are you listening to? Who are you watching? Who are you getting your information from, to where you are not concerned and worried and fearful of the man that's talking right now? That is a shame, and it's terrible. And so I would like to say that to our dear brother, to keep that in mind. And again, I want to be very clear. I called Donald Trump out all throughout his raggedy, terrible, horrible, anti-black administration. If he would take the White House again, I'm sure I would be doing the exact same. But we need to really be looking at this thing like we ought, and pay attention to what's really going on, because these fears that we have are certainly misplaced. We cannot accept the friendlier face of the oppressor, because one is willing to kill you with an elixir, versus a gun. That's the difference here. One is sweet. One is not so obvious with it. But we gotta wake up to this, and I think that's very concerning. I'll stop there.
No, sister, I think your points are well made. To me, it comes down to, at the end of the day, ain't no white man saving black people. Trump, nobody.
Yes, sir.
Neither one.
That's right.
And ain't neither one made a commitment to save black people.
That's right.
Trump ain't made none, and Biden ain't made none. So you can run from one slave master to another if you want.
Another.
Right? But I think, sister, what you're talking about is what I call fear of a white sheep politics, which the Democrats have been practicing and Negroes have been following for decades. So Reagan, Dole, Romney, Ford, they always point you to George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr. They always point you to this white Republican boogeyman that's going to destroy you. So you better go for the white Democrat because you ain't got no choice.
Yes, sir.
But when we look, though, and this is why I think, like you said, sister, it's not about symbolism. It's about substance. Yes. So, Mr. Biden spoke at Morehouse, I guess, a few weeks ago now. And he talked about Trump and the threat and protecting voting rights, and we need to get the George Floyd police reform bill passed. But when Mr. Biden, hear me well, brothers and sisters. So those are threats that he outlined for our people today. Yes, today. But yesterday, brothers and sisters, when Mr. Biden had the House and the Senate and the White House,
yes, sir,
the George Floyd Police Reform Act was not passed.
Come on.
The John Lewis Voting Rights Act was not passed. And here's the man that you voted for that said not only that you saved him, but that you saved democracy. But yet it was Joe Manchin out of piss poor West Virginia that was wielding power. Because Biden and the white Democrats did not want to reel him in. You cannot tell me that this man, Joe Manchin, there was not something that he wanted that you could have made a deal with him, pressured him to get those two important pieces of legislation passed.
That's
so,
right.
Mr. Biden, major policy failure, Now he's coming back talking about we need these bills to pass. How? When you had the opportunity, you didn't do it. You capitulated to white interests like they always do.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
And as you look, sister, what are some of the other things that you're seeing? What are you hearing as you talk to your viewers and your listeners about this election and Biden and Trump or whoever else you want to throw in that mix?
Well, everybody's talking about furniture right now. Everybody's talking about furniture. Everybody's talking about furniture. And what do I mean by that? They're talking about the couch. That's what the black streets, that's what I'm hearing. They're talking about all this chicken-eating Trump. Mr. Joe Biden, they were tripping with Trump the other day about some black lady and chicken. And we're like, well, what about the catfish nuggets that he took over to this beautiful black man's home with his black sons, bragging about removing some of his student loan debt, but he sat there and ate, his catfish nuggets and stuff with him and the sons and stuff. So everybody that I'm hearing from, they're talking about furniture and stuff. Everybody's going shopping about which couch they're going to be laid up on come November, because we have been very clear, crystal clear, about actual substantive, specific criminal justice reform. We've been very clear about reparations. We've been very clear about a specific black agenda, and America is laughing right in our faces. And the people are just saying, well, I'm going to just be laid up at the couch. So if we're going to eat, if there's any day to be eating chicken, any day we should, be eating fried fish, it's going to be in November. That's when everybody's putting out the chicken and fish to watch the elections because they don't intend to go there. Not because they don't want to vote. It's because we're being intelligent with our vote, and we believe in a principle called quid pro quo, getting something for what you give. That's what you do. And when we saw a few years ago when Biden took office, the white Afghans, we said that because we pulled out of Afghanistan, we can't just throw the people away like that. We had a lot of folks over there that helped us, the civilians and citizens that helped us. So we got to bring on the white Afghans. So we spent a whole lot of money and resources to bring them here. Then we started this proxy war. And we started funding Ukraine, and there was an audit that was done, and billions, that's with a B, with it, and an S on the E, in plural, billions came up missing, and your government told you that it was an administrative or some sort of clerical error, and that's only after we called them out. So I estimate that it's at least $300 to $500 million at minimum that we've been giving Ukraine, and I was getting some of those figures from international sources before we finally started to at least admit that we were spending at least $200 million, with the big billion in Ukraine so that we can take out Russia. After we instigated the coup in Ukraine, we overthrew a democratically elected Ukrainian president because he was not anti-Putin, and because of that, your government went over there in 2014, mess made before 2014, but most recently, 2014, we helped to overthrow a democratically elected government, and from there began to take over those Nazis, literal Nazi Ukrainians over there. So just a side note, whenever they like to talk about why anti-Semitism has increased, which that's suspect when you listen to the ADL make such claims and other Zionist organizations, if we're going to blame it on anything, we should be, y'all don't have no problem with us spending hundreds of billions of our taxpayer dollars with proven Nazis running around Ukraine that Putin is trying to take out. So we spend money on that, right? Then we turn around and spend all this money on both legal and illegal immigrants. We step over black homeless folks in Chicago. We step over black veterans in New York so that we can turn around and give millions of dollars to folks that violated federal law to get here and tell everybody else, tell our people what we can't do to give them that. They're playing in our faces. When COVID took place under the Biden administration with a Democrat Senate, a Democrat House of Representatives, and a Democrat president, what did they do? They told us that it was a pandemic, right? In a matter of 5 minutes, they sent a majority of Americans at least 2 checks to the tune of trillions of dollars. And then the Asian community claimed, the AAPI community, Asian Pacific Island community claimed that they were experiencing more racism during COVID. I told my whole audience that was a finesse. But they started to take video footage, and the footage that they showed, the 2 or 3 incidents that they claimed were Asians being assaulted, they used black folks, and we found out that a couple of the people that they used as black folks, some of them were mentally ill black people that appeared to have been put up to attack Asian folks so they could turn around and use that footage for their own purpose. We started seeing Stop Asian Hate everywhere, right? You don't hear it no more. You know why? Because it was a finesse. What happened? In 1 year's time, under a Democrat Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives, your Democrats, with overwhelming support with the Republicans, passed an Asian crime bill, protection bill for the Asians. And without any congressional push, your Democrat Biden and Harris administration redirected millions of dollars that was already in the government and earmarked them just for the Asian community. You ain't heard one other thing about it since. When they had to alter some of the numbers based on some of the numbers that some of the Asians claimed that they were calling in, talking about they were experiencing threats or violence and so forth. They had to adjust those numbers in certain parts of the country because they were statistically unchanged once the numbers really came in. It was a finesse. So that we could create this perception they were being attacked, and the only legitimate attacks where they was really, getting got, as I'm going to say, from white folks, but they didn't make them the face. They made us the face. I'm making the point that your Democrat administration and Congress gave tangible results to all of these different groups, domestically and internationally. But they're sitting here telling you what they can't do for you. And your Kamala Harris, when she was running for president, when she was specifically asked by a Griot reporter, and she specifically asked for reparations for black folks, Kamala specifically said she will not push a specific plan for just black people. We need to wake up and smell the begonias. Now, I brought all that up to let you know, to remind us who we're really dealing with here. This Morehouse situation, it was difficult for me to watch any of the footage. I did better reading this article, of course I saw several headlines, but reading the full article from the New York Times, which is, really a pathetic piece, but there were some factual things in here. And it's interesting, the headline that the New York Times titled Joe Biden's address, Biden draws on themes of manhood and faith at Morehouse commencement. Biden draws on themes of manhood and faith at Morehouse commencement. When I read this article, and just even the title, of course, the headline, and then I'm going over some of the excerpts from his speech, and of course, Morehouse gives him an honorary doctorate in law. In law. Baby, are y'all listening? He is addressing black men, talking about manhood. This Joe Biden, who is responsible for the undoing and the locking up more black men in modern history. He has the nerve to talk to them about manhood and get an honorary doctorate in law. The very thing, isn't this ironic? The thing he used to re-enslave us, historically black college, gave him the distinguished honor of a law degree. How dare you, Morehouse? This is a type of butt breaking. Compare that to schools like Columbia and the many other public schools that have not gotten the same visibility that Columbia has. Yes? Where you are seeing radical resistance to the genocide against the Palestinian people. But you're able to give an address with relative ease to a black college, the alma mater of the great Dr. King, among others. And then we find out that Joe Biden had conversations with Morehouse staff and some of the students prior to that. According to the article, they claimed that this is how he determined what he was going to talk about. In his speech, he had the nerve to invoke Jesus and manhood, and then had the nerve, as this piece describes, how that he called on them to help save democracy. To help save democracy. This was distressing for me, I have to say. And it's distressing for me because, as I said, this was a type of butt breaking to where they felt comfortable and safe. You did have a few students that turned their back on them. Yes, the valedictorian inserted, ceasefire. And okay. We call him Genocide Joe, but I've been calling him Jim Crow Joe. That's the moniker that should have taken hold before Genocide Joe. Why? Because he was killing us, been killing us, before the Genocide Joe appellation came to be. And the people he spoke to were his specific target. With the law, a law degree he was given. Let me tell you something, black family. It is not an honor to have Joe Biden give a commencement speech to our beautiful black minds. It is the contrary. It's his honor to be in our presence. And this was nothing more than a campaign rally because he is devastated and worried about the young people's vote and specifically black men. And so that is the reason why you were chosen. And you allowed, the leadership allowed this to take place in the face of all of it. I was terrified. And then when I read the article, I found that some of the parents urged their sons, it says, not to protest. So before they got there, mom and dad and them told their sons, that's what it specifically said, this article. That's devastating, parents. That's not good. We are still at war. Yes, you want your children to be intelligent. Yes, you don't want your babies to be reckless. Yes, you want them to apply wisdom and knowledge. Yes, you want to protect them and you want them to live a long and healthy life, and that's your job. But it is also your job to help them to understand that we're at war. It is also your job to teach them that there is a level of sacrifice, and it is also your job in this last couple of minutes that I have not to be one. I don't know if y'all remember this name, Kizzmekia Corbett. Does anybody remember Miss Kizzmekia Corbett? Miss Kizzmekia Corbett. Miss Kizzmekia Corbett. I did some broadcasts on her. She's the beautiful black sister that they made the face of the COVID vaccine when it rolled out. Do y'all remember that?
That's right.
And do you all remember the little pet name that Fauci calls her? Because he had difficulty pronouncing her name. So everybody, called her Kizzy. Isn't that all right, yeah. Kizzy? What other Kizzy do we know, y'all? What other Kizzy do we know?
Roots.
Come on now. Isn't that Kizzy? And the way he said Kizzy was like Kizzy. He knew what he was doing. There's something else going on here. And when they put her out there for this vaccine, I went crazy on the Vicki Show online. And so, Miss Kizzmekia Corbett, the Urban League, recently, this article, they had the nerve to publish this National Urban League on May 28th. Just today, yes, it says Kizzmekia Corbett, an African-American woman, is praised as key scientist behind COVID-19. Why am I talking about her in the context of education, Morehouse, Joe Biden, and all this? It says, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert and constant presence on TV during the coronavirus pandemic, was asked a blunt question during the forum hosted last week by the National Urban League, as if this breakthrough, which are black organizations. Quote, can you talk about the input of African-American scientists in the vaccine process? Their press releases, their press articles, Fauci did not hesitate when giving his answer. Quote, the very vaccine that's one of the two that has absolutely exquisite levels, 94 to 95% efficacy against clinical disease and almost 100% efficacy against serious disease that are shown to be clearly safe. That vaccine was actually developed in my institute's Vaccine Research Center by a team of scientists led by Dr. Barney Graham and his close colleague, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, or Kizzy Corbett, end quote. Why am I bringing her up? But I did some research, if I recall correctly, on her a couple of years ago when this thing rolled out. I found out that when she was growing up in school, she was showing some very promising signs in the area of science, you see? She showed a peculiar skill and aptitude and talent there. You need to hear me, black family, when it comes down to your education. So they zoomed in on her. Notice Fauci said that she helped to develop this. That vaccine was actually developed in my institute's Vaccine Research Center. Watch this. So when I was studying her before, they were watching her because she was a young girl. And then they followed her. I'm sure they probably talked to her parents, telling her back, said, you got a smart child here. She's got a lot of talent. We want to bring her in. We think she has a lot of talent. Let me tell you something. When your open enemy identifies a gift and a skill in you, particularly when it comes down to academia, it is not because they believe just that you can do well by them. They also want to make sure that you don't ever use those skills for breakthrough for your own people. So they give you a nice little lab, a decent salary. They give you a nice little car. They give you a nice little a title. They make sure that you get some press from time to time to make sure that you don't go too far. into doing what you ought for your people. How are you using that education? The great Dr. Scholar Warrior, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she had education from, some of you would even say the white man's education, but the reason she wasn't accepted amongst your boule, the reason why your black academics don't like her like they like the rest is because of how she used her degrees. She called out the enemy, not just with her degrees in education that she received, but remember, white folks were some of her actual patients. And when she came to that conclusion about the fear of white genetic annihilation, and that there was something going on with them folks, her own rejected her, even though she came from a very astute family. I think her parents, or at least one of them, were doctors. So this was normal. But it was how she used her education. I want to put that to our people. I want to put that from the graduates of Morehouse. It requires more than just you turning your back and you inserting one or two safe sentences in your speech. It requires more. And I need you to understand that your education that you receive has to be for the upbuilding of your people. Yes, I understand for a time.
Vicki, yes, hold on 1 second. We're at the top of the hour. Don't go nowhere. Straight Words, WVON. We'll be right back after this break. Let's go.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
May is Health Awareness Month, and the Talk of Chicago is your primary care radio station. Healthy reminders and medical experts all month long.
With no copay.
Only on WVON.
I'm Kevin Brown, and you're home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Condolences from President Biden for those killed in storms over the Memorial Day weekend. In a statement, Biden said he's praying for those who lost their lives and said federal emergency officials are conducting damage assessments and standing ready to provide support. The threat of severe weather is expanding to the East Coast. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear talking about the storms.
We had devastating storms that hit almost the entire state.
At least 23 people were killed during severe weather over the Memorial Day weekend. Over 70 million people from the south up to the northeast could see strong storms, and tornadoes are possible in areas from eastern North Carolina to eastern Pennsylvania, including cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, heavy rainfall that could lead to flooding is threatening parts of Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, and Pennsylvania.
Donald Trump disrespecting black folk is nothing new. It's why Trump stood with violent white supremacists, warned of a bloodbath if he loses the next election, and if he's president again, vowed to be a dictator who wants revenge on his enemies.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott on CNN railing against President Biden's new campaign ad, calling it insulting to black voters.
Under Donald Trump, we were better off. There are two things that are driving black votes back to Donald Trump: jobs and justice. Number one, under Donald Trump, our wages were going up. Right now, fairness is going down. But if you're really concerned about racial justice in America, let's not forget Joe Biden is the guy that talked about racial jungles as a result of desegregation. Let's not forget the fact that Joe Biden is the president who said, if you don't vote for me, you can't be black. An old white dude telling me I can't be black if I don't vote for him.
A New York Times Siena College Philadelphia Inquirer poll released earlier this month found Biden leading Trump among black voters 63% to 23%, which is a significant drop from 87% among black voters who supported Biden in 2020. Meanwhile, former FBI Director James Comey says Trump has no chance of an acquittal in his hush money trial. Comey said prosecutors have built a very strong circumstantial case using documents, checks, and phone calls to prove their allegations. He told News Nation there's a much smaller chance of a hung jury.
Former President Barack Obama is saddened over the passing of a legendary basketball star. He posted on social media that Bill Walton was one of the greatest basketball players of all time, a champion at every level and the embodiment of unselfish team play. He was also a wonderful spirit, full of curiosity, humor, and kindness. The NBA Hall of Famer and broadcasting legend died after a long battle with cancer. He was 71.
Black women in London, England, are the subject of soaring rates of femicide compared to other ethnic groups. Femicide generally refers to the murder of a woman or girl because of her gender, and Metropolitan Police figures show that 21 victims recorded in 2022, 9 were black, while 8 of 13 victims last year were black. The numbers suggest black women are being disproportionately targeted when compared to London's ethnic breakdown.
I'm Terry McCready along with Kevin Brown on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Skin cancer amongst all races is on the rise. As the sun comes out for the summer, make sure to use sunscreen every time you will be in the sun for 15 minutes or longer. That's your healthy reminder.
She's funny. She's witty. She's opinionated.
Kim Kardashian, do you know her Skims line is the official underwear for the WNBA?
I heard that last week.
Can you believe this?
Actually, Kim Skims, haha, that's funny.
Kim Skims.
Her line actually does get pretty good reviews from what I've seen on social media.
Yeah, it does.
Despite what you think about her.
How do turn into millionaires?
She's Perry Small. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik. You've seen him on cable TV. Now hear his spirited conversation on The Talk of Chicago. The question at hand is raising voices of the Negro. That plain and simple. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik on The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
What's up, Chicago? This is B.J. Murphy.
This is Naba'a Richard Muhammad.
Tune in Tuesdays, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight on WVON 1690, The Talk of Chicago.
And we're streaming live on iHeartRadio and WVON.com. So again, that's Tuesday night, Central Time, 9 p.m. to midnight. It's Straight Words with Naba'a Richard Muhammad and
Brother B.J. Murphy.
And we are black, strong, and unapologetically pro-Farrakhan.
We're in the new year with passion, vision, and commitment. Driving our weekly radio show, Straight Words with Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad, Brother James G. Muhammad, and Brother B.J. Murphy. We're broadcasting on the historic WVON AM 1690, The Talk of Chicago, one of the few black talk radio stations in America. And we plan to stay here, and we're asking for your help. Our Straight Words radio show is Black America's collective heartbeat, a space for black voices, black stories, and the black struggle for true freedom, justice, and equality. We represent honest, spirited defenses of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with clarity, accuracy, and bold truths. Make your strongest donation to help us via Cash App. That's $Straight Words, $Straight Words on Cash App. Via Zelle, send your donations to 312-480-9775. And using PayPal, send financial support to Straight Words, 4, @gmail.com. And don't forget, brothers and sisters, tune in every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time on WVON AM 1690, or listen on the iHeartRadio app or WVON.com. Visit straightwords.com for our audio archives, and visit at Straight Words Media on YouTube for our videos and special features. We're black, we're strong, and we unapologetically pro-Farrakhan.
What up, VON? It's your boy, it's Kendall Moore. I'm from The Kendall Moore Show, you already know. Join me every Friday evening from 6 until 9 p.m. on 1690 AM, that is, WVON. Cheers.
Got a 3, got a 2, got a 1. Yes! Tune in Friday, 9 to midnight for The Fundamentals, where I, Titus T. Del Williams, bring the mental.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
And I, DJ Turbine Arturo Garza, bring the fun.
Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here? So if you want some wacky,
some good conversation,
but some fun,
and a little serious,
for all your sports needs, tune in to The Fundamentals.
Friday nights, 9 to midnight. See you there.
You like that? You like that?
The views expressed on our programs are not necessarily those of WVON, Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
Hey, Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON. The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. We are the talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
All right, brothers and sisters, you're listening to Straight Words on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad, Brother James G. Muhammad, Brother BJ. We are here with you on this Tuesday night. Go to straightwords.com and find out how you can donate to keep this show alive on the radio, because it's blazing right now with our great sister, Vicki Dillard. You've seen her on our YouTube show all over the internet. She's an influencer, and she's on with us, setting a bonfire tonight. Thank you for being with us, Sister Vicki.
It's my pleasure. You will forgive me in advance, but in just a few moments, it's my fault that I went over, that I have to do some medical stuff here because I've got some medical stuff going on. It's been things I've been overcoming over the years. But I wanted to, if I could just say this, though, before I go, I first want to thank you, Brother James, Brother BJ, and Brother Naba'a Richard. What you're doing here is so very important. So please continue to do it. Don't give up, no matter the volatility, the ups and downs, the ratings, the difficulty, the resources. Please don't ever give up, because this is so very necessary, that our voice continues to go out throughout the world, and that the unified black voice is strengthened. And again, I want to thank you so much, based on your previous segments, for standing up for black women and telling our stories. That's so very important. I just wanted to, if I could, end this briefly with just saying that I believe that we need new academic modalities, and it's more simplistic than we think. It could be anything from you getting an empowering documentary, and some of you parents may feel like, well, I don't know, algebra. I don't know some of the history that my babies, are learning in school. I don't understand this or that. But let's not worry about that. Why don't you do what you can? Why don't you have them and their friends over, you make them some good sandwiches or some pizza or something, and have them sit around at the house and watch a good political documentary, a good educational, historical a documentary, and just ask them to comment on it without judging what they got from it. Why don't you, one day take your babies down there during the week to a public criminal hearing, even a traffic trial hearing, where it doesn't require, them to have advance notice, and you just sit in the back of the courtroom and you just have them observe, and then you turn around and then once again you take them to the park, give them something to eat, give them an incentive, and then ask them what did they think about what they saw. Ask them what did they think when that young black man appeared to have taken a plea agreement with that attorney. What are your thoughts about that? Take them to a museum, and then always think of something alternative that you can do. They will get the lesson. They will get the lesson. Have them listen to this very talk show that you're listening to right now. Yes, every Tuesday, and make that in and of itself its own ritual. And when it's over and they're done listening to Brother Naba'a Richard and Brother BJ and so forth, ask them, what did you think about so and so? What did you think about that crazy lady, that Sister Vicki? She was kind of loud and stuff, and she was real southern and country. What are your thoughts about, what she said? These are things, these are new learning modalities that will make a difference. There are some things that are taught, and then there are some things that are caught. Everything, the best way to learn is not just in a classroom and not just based on certain testing like that. Just exposing folks to certain things, your babies to certain things, that makes a difference. And I want to say this one other thing. In this time, the United States, in her greatness, the fall of America, as we know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad prophesied so long ago, is happening right before our eyes. And so we must understand that the same thing is happening to all of our institutions and education and all these things, right? And there's a text, and I'm done here, that in 1 Corinthians in the Bible, and it's very profound. It says in verse 26, brothers, consider the time of your calling. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly and despised things of the world and things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast in his presence. If you are considered to be the nobody, the powerless, guess what? Spirit will use, the divine will use, God will use you in this time, like he did with the story of Joseph, where he was a felon, but Joseph was still working. Joseph was still applying his skills even when he was in captive and even when he was locked up. And after approximately 13 years, scholars believe, of some form of captivity or imprisonment, he was in a whole other country, Egypt. He was in a foreign country to him, and Pharaoh had a dream. And all of the white men, everybody with all the education, everybody that had the degree that was tantamount to our modern doctor's degrees, his secretaries, his cabinet members, his high-level administrative officials and administrators, none of them could give the king an answer to his dream. None of that wisdom worked when it came down to him understanding his dream. And then somebody in his government that was exposed to Joseph when he was locked up said, hey, I know somebody. This felon. I had a problem 24 months ago when I was locked up. And I had a dream, and it was accurate, and he interpreted my dream accurately, and he interpreted someone else's dream accurately. They cleaned him up, brought him before Pharaoh. He accurately interpreted the dream, and then not only did he interpret the dream, he gave him an economic strategy for his nation and by extension the world for the next 14 years, 7 years of famine and 7 years, I believe, if I remember the numbers correctly, prosperity, but he gave him the strategy so that their country was in abundance during famine and the rest of the world had to come to them. I want you to know that it doesn't matter where you find yourself, whoever's listening to us, you never know how the divine might use your unique skills and education. And it's not going to be the traditional one. And I want you to understand that so that you don't put a greater hope and a greater prestige with the likes of a Joe Biden or a Morehouse institution and the worldly accolades versus the other types of wisdom. That's all I wanted to say. And again, I want to thank you all so very much for this opportunity. And I pray that you afford me the opportunity to do this again with you.
Oh, yeah. Sister, thank you. We will, first of all, take care of yourself. Yeah. And we will definitely bring you back, and we'll bring you on a little earlier to hopefully try to make things a little easier, real quick, for people that want to follow you and get you content and everything that you do. Give us some places where they can go.
Yes, sir. The best way to follow me now, I'm still on several different platforms and different networks. Many of you are used to seeing me like on Fly Being Queen, but there's been some changes there and some other associate relationships there. But I'm on the African Diaspora News Channel. I'm on multiple social media platforms, and I have my channel. So the easiest way is to follow me at VickiDillard.tv. That's a direct link, but that's also the way you can reach me on YouTube, VickiDillard.tv. And if you join my email list at my website, you can find out about my school. You can find out about other things that I'm involved in, like I'm going to be speaking at this upcoming reparations rally with our brother Tariq Nasheed and other speakers in Washington, D.C., inshallah, June 15th. Which I'm very excited to be one of the speakers there at the reparations rally right in our nation's capital. So you can find out about those things. Subscribe to my email list is probably the easiest way so that you can find out all of what I'm up to and receive notifications about it. And that's at VickiPlanet.com. That's VICKI Planet.com, VICKI Planet.com. I always emphasize the spelling of my name because people, sometimes I have to let them know there are no double K's in my name, there are no E's in my name, there are no Y's in my name, and my name is not short for Victoria. My mama said I didn't look like a Victoria. My name is spelled VICKI Planet.com. That's how you can reach me. Join my email list, and that way you will receive notifications on all that we've got going on. And again, thank you so very much for this privilege and opportunity to be with you tonight.